So this morning I had my second session with my new therapist, David, that I sought out because he does EMDR therapy. And that is something that was suggested to me from a fellow friend and therapist who knows the things that I have gone through and that I'm struggling with. So I met with him last week and we kind of got to know one another. This is something I've done before in the past with therapists, but today we were supposed to start the EMDR therapy, but we started talking about what was going on, and I was explaining to him that I've been dealing with just like going down the rabbit hole of worrying, which is something that I always have done even as a young child. And anxiety medication, meditation, journaling, all these different things haven't made it go away. It's made it more manageable learning these coping skills, but he gave me some new things to do. And so we didn't actually get into the EMDR therapy yet, but I have appointments scheduled for every Thursday for the next couple of weeks. So I know we'll get to that. But he opened up this book and shared that, after I explained to him what type of person I am, like I go from, having my husband leave for work, and he's an adrenaline junkie. He's a klutz. He is always hurting himself. He hurt himself the other day for the 4th time in 11 months. So I know that I am warranted in some of my worry, but I go from like, oh my God, bye, to like, are you going to ever fucking come home? I'm going to be stuck here in this town forever all by myself. And I just do that. And I shared that on Halloween night when we went trick-or-treating. I really couldn't be in the moment until we got to a certain street, which was completely blocked off, because the whole time I was thinking like Rebel needs to be on this side because if a car comes, he's going to get hit if we cross the street. And I just go into this, down this rabbit hole of worry. I mean, it's crazy. I've always been that way. And I struggle with trying to figure out, is it because my mom was always super paranoid because they waited for 11 years to have children, finally adopted me, and she was so paranoid someone was going to steal me or something was going to happen to me? So was it learned behavior, or is it because I have deep-seated, abandonment issues of fear of loss from being adopted and abandoned? Or is it because, recently, since I've been diagnosed this year with PCOS, I'm seeing that there's a link between PCOS, because it's hormonal, with anxiety and depression? Or is it because of the traumatic events that have happened throughout my life? And it's this just causes my mind to just spin out of control as well. So we didn't get right into EMDR there because he kind of gave me some tips. And one thing he said was the rubber band method. And I knew exactly what he was talking about because I have been studying the brain, personal development, all these different things to improve myself, to heal myself, to do all these different things because I just have always been a person who strives to be better, looking for happiness. But I started following Tony Robbins, reading his book, listening to his, books, on CD, his podcasts, videos, all these different things. And I attended an event, actually a couple events of his. But one of the things he talked about was pattern interrupt. And this is something I've learned from, watching videos on hypnosis and other books. So this is something that just keeps revolving like that. This is not something new. This is something that's been done. But Tony Robbins had a really bad habit of biting his nails. And so what he did was put a rubber band on his wrist, and every time he'd go to bite his fingernails, he would pop his wrist with the rubber band. Because here's the thing is, what I've learned from my brain and just from studying the brain is that we have the fight or flight, response. And if something's fucking painful, our brain's going to do whatever it is to make us avoid it. And most of the time we come up with these ways to cope when we're children, when we don't know any better, when we don't have any resources. And then those become our patterns as adults that aren't healthy, that aren't working. And so we need to retrain our brain, but our brains are made to keep us alive. So having that response of pain, and this is something that, you have to be careful too, because there's people out there I know who cut themselves and self-harm. And I don't feel like this is self-harm, but you have to, I wouldn't probably recommend this to somebody who's dealt with that. But this is a way to get your body to, or your brain to change the patterns. It's a pattern interrupt. So he suggested that. And another thing that we were talking about the type of person I am, from this book that he was reading from, is like, I'm basically an all or nothing person. And I was sharing with him that this last September, I finally realized after being sober for almost 2 years that work had also been an addiction, that I used it to avoid things. When my husband and I had problems at one point, I found myself pouring myself into my business, which made my business successful, and also was a way of certainty that whenever I pour myself into other people, then I'd get that euphoric feeling of helping somebody, and they would, need me and all this stuff, but I was avoiding other things and using that in place. And so once I realized that work was an addiction, and that I needed to change my relationship with work, then my all or nothing brain pattern, habit, whatever kicked in. And then I went from like not working and avoiding work, not to have fun, but to spend time with my family. And I'm like, I know that every human being out there is looking for balance, and there really is not such thing as a balance. But I asked the therapist, I'm like, what can I do so that I don't do the all or nothing thing? And he suggested writing down my schedule for the next day. And this is something I've been doing to stay on track, because my schedule does vary from day to day. But he was like, schedule things that aren't just all work or not, play, and schedule that so that you can have balance. I'm like, okay, that's something that I've been doing for other reasons, just to stay on track. But he was like, if you do that, then you can start to see a balance between work and family, work and play, work and, household chores. And then he also said, another thing is, we started working on this last week, is coming up with 3 positive, happy thoughts. And this is something that's always been hard for me, because good things have happened in my life, but I don't have a lot of happy memories from when I was a child, and I've struggled with happiness, even as an adult, even as since I've been on my journey of, health and fitness and improvement in the last 7 years, I struggle. But he made me come up with 3 positive, happy experiences, and I went into detail. And he's like, if these are the things, when you start to worry, go to these thoughts. And that's, envisioning. And this is something that, Tony Robbins talks about, is like, where you focus, the energy flows. So think about positive things, because if you think about negative, more negative is going to come, and it's going to be attracted to you, into your life. So you focus on what you want instead of what you don't want. And so I've been waking up like this week at 3:30, 4:30, 5:30 in the morning, and then I can't go to sleep because my mind is racing. And so he's like, go to those thoughts, go into great detail where you can visualize what it's like, you can feel what it's like to be there, you can smell what it's like to be in those moments, and go back to those happy moments. And the last thing that he said, and this is one of those things that I came to him saying, like, I'm interested in EMDR therapy because I want something to follow. I'm a rule follower. I will follow instructions and directions. And especially if this is going to improve myself, I'm like, I just need a fucking format of like, do A through Z 3 times, in a row on every Wednesday. Then I'm going to fucking do it. So this was something that I'm glad that he's doing. He gave me these things to do. He's like, also schedule your worry. And I think that I've heard this somewhere before, but he was like, schedule your worry. Find a place where you're going to go and worry, and a time where you're going to go and worry. And maybe it's not the same time or place every day, but assign that. And for me, it would be like assign it at night time when I'm scheduling my things out for the next day. Schedule a time of where you're going to go to worry and when you're going to worry. So that if you catch yourself having this freak out session like I do about stupid stuff that is relevant, but it just goes to the extreme, then you could be like, nope, not going to do this now, because tomorrow at 11 o'clock, I'm going to go outside on the porch and I'm going to do this. So that's what I am going to do. So I'm going to do all of these things, because I'm at the point where like, I just am tired of fucking living with this brain, these thoughts, and I want to be able to cope better. And I started thinking as he was talking about a place, and I'm like, it needs to be somewhere, uncomfortable, so that I associate worrying and anxiety and stressing about things that are out of my control, so that my brain is like, oh God, that's not uncomfortable. I don't want to worry. And so I don't know. It's been super freaking cold in the morning. So I was like, maybe I'll go outside when I'm worrying. I'm like, I don't know if I would do that if I woke up in the middle of the night, because then I'd probably be wide awake. But anyways, my mind is kind of going now with different things to do. I knew exactly where a rubber band is. And again, like I said, I'm a rule follower. Like if you tell me to do something and there's a reason behind it, I always have to know a reason behind it. And at the end is going to be a positive result, then I'm going to do it. So this is it. So every time I catch myself going into a rabbit hole of, unhealthy thinking, or lately I noticed like my OCD is like freaking just taking off. And, in some ways it's good because it makes me a super clean person, a super organized person, whatever. But when it takes over your life, where it starts to bother other people in your family or in your life, then you need to chill. So I'm going to use the rubber band method. So anyways, I hope that some of these tips might be helping you if you are struggling with some of the same things. And as I continue on my journey with my new therapist and actually starting EMDR therapy, then I will share more with you guys. And I hope that you guys seek out the things that you're willing to try to make yourself better too.